Agatha. It's nearly 7 o'clock, my dear. Edmund will be here for supper soon.
You give me a fright, creeping up on folk like that.
Did you get that blooming poison from my moles?
Of course I did.
Well, where is it, girl?
On the kitchen table.
Ah.
And you owe me 15p.
Peanut.
Nothing less. I think a little trouble with the old moles, I see.
Little blighters can't seem to get rid of them. You're sure it's right to publish it?
Well, I brought the manuscript along. She can have a look at it and see what she thinks. In my opinion, this is as fine a book as she's ever written. I've always thought so. But anyway, if she doesn't want to, let's just leave it. Plenty of great detectives outlived their creators. Why shouldn't Hercule Poirot?
Over my dead body?
Well, I suppose it would be, wouldn't it? Down, Bungo. Go on with you. Hello, Edmund. Trying to kill me off, too?
Agatha, you look marvelous.
Oh, don't be so silly. Have you brought the murder weapon with you?
I have.
Thank you, my dear. That's
Dinner's
lovely.
ready when you are.
Thank you, Sally. Come on, Edmund. Let's go and eat. I'm famished. Don't forget your box of tricks.
I've got a really special bottle of claret for you.
Oh, dear.
Oh, Edmund, do stop it.
Anyway, so the prompter gave the line again, a little louder this time. And still the actors all stood there, not a word. So he said it again. And then someone in the stalls even called out the line. Still no response. Well, you can imagine, by this time the poor old prompter was getting a bit drowned off. So finally he took a deep breath and just yelled the line out. At which point dear old Charles turned to the wings and said in that wonderful booming voice of his, "My dear boy, Mrs. Christie's play has been performed in this theatre for the past 20 years. We all know perfectly well what the line is. We've simply forgotten to say it."
I don't think that's at all funny. They're supposed to be professionals. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. Thank you, Sally. Well, Edmund, we've had the old softening her up routine. That's usually a sign that you're going to spring something perfectly horrid. It is your opinion, St. Max tells me, that the time has come to kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. Dear, and close the doors, would you? It's getting rather chilly.
Agatha?
What?
You know. Snap out of it.
Wretched little man. There's always been so much trouble. How is it Miss Marple's never upset me at all? Not ever. Her books have always been so, well, so easy. But Poirot always upsets me so. Completely unbearable. You know, Edmund, when I wrote this, I really meant What's it like after all this? What is it? 30 years?
35.
35? Huh? I seem dreadfully dated.
Well, there are one, two tiny little things, but it stands up marvelously.
Well, of course it does. It was written with passion. I enjoyed every minute of it. So you and Billy Collins and the rest have decided that the old girl's not going to come up with anything else, so we might as well let her little Belgian friend kick the bucket too.
She's only pulling your leg, Edmund.
I'm not, actually.
Yes, Agatha, I think we ought to publish.
Very well. Publish and be damned.
Naturally, you need to read it first.
Oh, that's silly old fusspot. Well, I expect you two want to gossip, so I'll just take this and disappear. Thank you. Dear Edmund, you've always been so good to me. Now, don't you two come disturbing me.
So all in all, a pretty gloomy weather prospect. That's it then. A very good night to you.
On BBC Two now, read all about it, while here on One, it's Kojak.
Who is there who has not felt a sudden, startled pang at reliving an old experience or feeling an old emotion? Bingo! Bingo! Bingo, what is it? Bingo? Bingo!
My dear madam, I beg you to excuse me for deranging you at this most inappropriate hour.
What in heaven's name?
How I wish I could say that my visit was purely of a social nature. Unfortunately, it is a matter of the...
Bingo like that. suppose you'd better come in. Impossible. Do come in, Monsieur Poirot. Please sit down. I'll be back in a moment. Where are they? Sally? 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 Sorry. It's quite extraordinary. Everyone's disappeared. Please, sit down, Monsieur Poirot. You're making me nervous.
Do you not think, my dear Agatha, that after all these years we might be on, how do you say, first-name terms?
You know perfectly well how we say. I'm sorry, I've never been any good at first names. Besides, nobody calls you Hercule. You're Poirot.
But, as you wish. Nevertheless, madame, I should prefer, if you do not insist, to remain for the moment standing. What a charming room.
Poirot, I really would be most grateful if you would kindly tell me what on earth you're doing here.
Alors, there is, as you well know, madame, only one reason as a rule for a visit from the great Hercule Poirot.
You're investigating a crime?
A crime of the most serious sort.
You mean murder?
Murder, madame.
But who?
Please, madame, all in good time. It is my habit, is it not, to investigate a murder once it has been committed. But the particular case that brings me here tonight is, however, of a rather different sort. For the murder in question has yet to take place.
But that's absurd.
I think not. Surely it is better to investigate the murder before it has been committed rather than afterwards. Perhaps one can use the little grey cells to prevent such a murder from taking place.
Oh, I do wish you'd hurry up and get to the point, Poirot.
Ah, the point. The point, my dear Agatha, is that we have here a most interesting and unusual case. For we know not only that a murder is to be committed, we know also the identity of the victim. Moreover, ma chère amie, we are fortunate enough to know the identity of the murderer.
Oh, for goodness sake, do get on with it.
You are agitated. That is but natural. Let us, however, for a moment, reflect. Let us use our reason and consider what we know about this murder and what we do not know. Let us use, as I said, our little grey cells. Ah, c'est intéressant ça. Wagner. Voyons. Let us begin with those elements that we do not know. First of all, we do not know when the murder is to take place. Secondly, we do not know how it is to take place. Thirdly, we do not know, and I'm sure you would agree, madame, that this is the most intriguing and important question, for from it all else stems, we do not know why it is to take place. In short, madame, we do not know the motive for the murder.
Well, how exciting. So I'm to help the great Hercule Poirot solve a real live murder?
Yes, a real live one.
Oh, come on, let's get on with it. Tell me, who is the intended victim?
The intended victim, my dear Agatha, is myself.
How marvelous! How absolutely marvelous! Tell me, who is the murderer? No, don't tell me. Let me guess. Is it someone like that mad scientist woman, you know, Madame Olivier? The one who nearly got you in the Big Four when you pretended your last cigarette was a blowpipe with a poison dart at the end? Is it someone like her?
Let us not beat under the bush.
About
the bush. I think you know quite well, my dear Agatha, who is the murderer. What, may I ask, madame, is that?
Oh, nothing. Just another sausage from the old sausage machine.
Pardon?
That's what I used to say to Edmund. Here you are, I'd say, another sausage from the sausage machine.
Sausage?
A manuscript. A new book.
Ah bon? Might I be so bold as to inquire whether I, Hercule Poirot, figure in this sausage?
Oh, good Lord, no. Certainly not. Actually, it's not much good. I don't know that I shall even let him have it. Probably scrap it, I should think.
It is then, I imagine, one of your Miss Marple books.
Yes, that's right, absolutely. A Miss Marple. Rather a silly one, really.
May I have a look?
No.
My dear Agatha, you seem un peu distraite. Forgive me if I upset you.
Don't be so silly. It's just that I don't like people reading my manuscripts.
Why, Agatha?
I beg your pardon?
I said why. Why do you want to kill me?
This is absurd. It's getting very late, Monsieur Poirot. I really must insist.
Sit down! It is, of course, not surprising, madame, that someone with such experience in the matter of murder as yourself, when confronted with a straightforward accusation, does not immediately decide to make a clean bosom of it.
Rest.
Exactly. So, I see that we must proceed along the conventional lines. Alors, let us calmly examine the facts and arrange them in their proper order. Those of importance, we will put on one side. Those of no importance, blow them away. Alors, first of all, we know that the celebrated writer, Madame Agatha Christie, plans to publish a book in which our hero, the internationally famous Belgian detective Hercule Poirot, is to be killed. Thus, as I said, we know both the murderer and her intended victim. Secondly, we know that this book, the manuscript of which is locked in this bookcase, was written not recently, as the writer and her publishers will no doubt claim, but a great many years ago. If I might hazard a guess, I would say just before the Second World War. How? You are going to ask, do I, Hercule Poirot, arrive at such a conclusion? Quite simple. First, the paper of the manuscript is yellow and of a quality that, alas, is no longer to be found today. Second, for some years now, you have not typed your own manuscripts, preferring to use instead what I believe you call a dictaphone. It is clearly evident that this particular manuscript has been typed in your own idiosyncratic hand. Thirdly, the brown paper bag in which it was kept bears the name of a shop in Jermyn Street, which was at the beginning of the war bombed. The shop has never reopened. It seems unlikely, does it not, madame, that you would be employing such a bag some 35 years later to contain a manuscript which was only recently written. The significance of the fact that you wrote this book so many years ago will, of course, not be lost on you. Had you produced it, par exemple, this year or last year, one might excuse it as a wish, albeit a misguided one, to see our two great careers terminate at approximately the same time. If, however, it was written in 1939...
1940.
That throws a very different light on the matter. For I, as you, madame, was then at the very pinnacle of my career, which brings us to the interesting question of motive. Why you wanted to kill me?
It's really terribly easy to explain.
Huh?
Terribly easy. Please, sit down. You see, Hercule, it was wartime. You, of all people who came to England as a refugee, must know what it feels like. It's a very emotional time. We were bombed, you know. We were aware at the time, but we were actually bombed. 3 houses on the other side of Sheffield Terrace, not flat. One begins to think that at any moment it might be one's own turn to die. I suddenly realized that the Germans might drop a bomb on me, and then, bang, I'd be gone, and where would that leave you? Stranded, in limbo. Or worse still, a prey to writers who would exploit you, not look after you properly, like they did to poor James Bond. And that would be so humiliating. So, I decided to write a book that would finish you off, well, decently. No, just in case. Oh, there was no intention of publishing. It was supposed to be a sort of nest egg for the family. If anything should happen to me, the royalties would come in handy. But in the main, the idea was to take care of you.
Agatha, I'm touched. Vraiment, I'm touched. I would be more touched, however, if your very moving account were rather more in accordance with the facts of the case. What uncharacteristically you are forgetting, my dear Agatha, is that you are not the sole witness to the events of 1940 with which we are tonight concerned. At least 2 other parties were involved. Your agent, Monsieur Edmund Cork, and Monsieur Harold Aubert, your agent in the United States of America, where, thanks to his perspicacity, Hercule Poirot has enjoyed, and indeed enjoys, the very highest esteem. Fortunately, although Monsieur Aubert is no longer with us, Monsieur Cork is. He has furnished me valuable evidence as to your attitude towards me at that time. I have here a letter you wrote to him in January 1939. Poirot, you write, is rather insufferable. Most public men are who live too long. Perhaps you would care to elaborate a little on exactly what you meant by live too long.
Oh, it was just a joke.
Ah bon? A joke. And yet within months, you were writing the book that was to put an end to that excessively long life.
But I told you, it was just a nest egg. There was no intention to publish.
Eh bien, madame. Perhaps you can explain to me how, in that case, the manuscript came to be sent to Monsieur Aubert in America.
I don't know. We always did. We always sent Harold a copy. Standard practice.
Standard practice with books you were about to publish?
Yes. No, I mean...
Monsieur Aubert, so Monsieur Koch informs me, practically has a heart attack when he reads this manuscript of yours.
Poor Harold.
Oh, you find that amusing. Fortunately, he, at least it seems, recognized the folly of killing off the world's greatest ever detective. One who earned you virtually every penny you own. Now, the plain fact of the matter is, my dear Agatha, that you fully intended to publish the book at that time and were only prevented from doing so by your agent and publisher. And what is more, madame, I have a little idea about your motive for wanting me dead.
Oh, yes?
Oh, yes. Jealousy.
Jealousy?
Jealousy. You are jealous of me, jealous of my fame, jealous of my reputation throughout the world. You resented the fact that it was my name, not yours, that sold your books. Que c'était moi, Hercule Poirot!
Would you like a cup of cocoa?
Here we are, then. I've made it just the way you like.
Madame, vous êtes trop gentille.
Well, Accu, how jolly nice this is. I must say you're looking absolutely splendid. You know, in all those pictures and plays and films and things, no one's ever got you quite right. I mean, captured the real you. For some reason, they always wanted big fat men to play you. Francis Sullivan, Charles Law.
I thought that Albert Finney wasn't too wide of the mark.
Oh, the moustache was simply ghastly. No one's ever come up with an actor who had the right sort of look of superiority.
I'd always imagined that perhaps David Niven.
David Niven? Oh, far too English and much too good looking.
Pardon.
You know, whenever I delivered a new book, Edmund always used to take me out to luncheon. Usually the Caprice. Have you had their lobster thermidor? Absolutely marvelous. Sometimes we'd go to the Savoy Grill, you know, just for a change. And one day, I remember I looked across the room, and there you were. Well, not you, of course, but the spitting image, this little man, dining alone, striped trousers, immaculately dressed, for lot. Even the funny egg-shaped head. And I said to Edmund, do go over and get him. We can't let him go. And he said, Agatha, you know perfectly well that if I brought him over, you'd melt with embarrassment and rush off to the ladies or something.
I noticed that you take the Pharmaceutical Journal. Excellent publication.
Yes. I have a soft spot for the old PJ. They reviewed your first case, you know. Styles. one of the best compliments I ever had. They said, Miss Agatha Christie knows her job. They said, she deals with poisons in a very knowledgeable way.
Oh, c'est charmant, ça. Where did you find such a delightful piece?
We got it on one of Max's digs.
Dig?
Archaeology.
Ah. I wonder why you never use such a table in one of your books, huh? So many interesting possibilities. For example, neither of us has drunk any of our cocoa yet, huh? Both the cups and saucers are identical. The liquid in the cups are the same. Even the teaspoons in their respective saucers are in exactly the same position.
What of that?
Oh, ma chère madame, surely you see. Let us imagine two people sitting at such a table. Huh? One of them wants to murder the other, but the other person suspects that he is to be murdered. Suspects, let us suppose, that his drink has been poisoned. What do you think he would do?
I haven't the faintest idea.
You jest, of course. Why, naturally, you would find some way of distracting the attention of the other. Voila. That, I believe, is what you say in the English, turning the tables. How very difficult such a crime would be to solve, huh? The would-be murderer becomes a victim the intended murderer. Where is the motive? There is none. A formidable case, one to touch the brain even of the great Hercule Poirot. But of course, madame, I'm talking of an entirely hypothetical situation. As in real life, both cups are identical and perfectly harmless. It matters not at all from which of them either of us drinks. Delicious. Now, mind you, Agatha, drink up. It will get cold.
Upon what, may I ask, are you sitting?
You devious little man. Laggard, how dare you? Petty, lock-picking pilferer.
I should, of course, have no need to caution you, madame, that Scotland is fully aware.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
I insist that you allow me to read it.
You should do as I say now. Give it to me. All right.
My poor friend Poirot. I have described him many times. Now, to convey to you the difference.
C'est incroyable.
Crippled with arthritis, he propelled himself about in a wheelchair. His once plump frame
had fallen in. He was a thin little man now. His face was lined and wrinkled. His moustache and hair, it is true, was still of a jet black color, but candidly this was a mistake. There comes a moment when hair dye is too painfully obvious. It merely created the impression that he wore a wig and had adorned his upper lip to amuse the children.
Mon Dieu.
Me, said Poirot with a grimace. I am a wreck, I am a ruin, I am crippled and twisted. Mercifully, I could still feed myself.
Oh, merci, madame.
But otherwise, I have to be attended like a baby, put to bed, washed and dressed.
Jamais, jamais. La femme infidèle!
The public will not tolerate it. It shall not be permitted.
Kill me.
I beg your pardon?
Take it. Allez-y, kill me.
Show me that you have the courage to do it in a decent, honorable way. Not in the cowardly, cruelly, humiliating ways that you planned.
I feel a bit faint.
What?
You know, this is the first time in my life that I feel I need a touch of alcohol. Poirot, beer, dear, the bottles are over there. What do you think I ought to have?
Je sais pas, whiskey?
Anything. I don't know. I don't think there is any. Thank you. Please, do help yourself. You look done in.
Not quite yet.
You've read it?
As much as I need.
You know, Monsieur Poirot, I think it's time for the confession. Where to begin? It's quite true that when I wrote Curtain, I fully intended it for immediate publication, apart from everything else. You were simply getting too old. You see, I made a dreadful mistake. I made you too old right at the beginning at Styles. That was, let me see, 1920. And after that, I had to make you a bit older with each book. You know, readers spot these things. Anyway, by 1940, you'd had a good run for your money. You were pushing 80. That's too old, isn't it? For a detective. To be effective.
Please proceed.
Well, that's it, really.
At the beginning, you said apart from everything else, I was too old. I should like to know what you meant by everything else.
Well, you were beginning to get in the way a bit.
Get in the way?
Yes, a bit. You see, I liked writing lots of different sorts of things. I mean, I liked my Miss Marple books. I liked writing other murder stories without being tied. But they kept insisting, Agatha, we've got to have a new Poirot book. Can't you put Poirot in this, Poirot in that? So I just obeyed orders. It spoiled things, you see. I mean, Sad Cypress. They forced me to put you in that. Completely ruined. Didn't need you much better without you. But no, got to have Poirot in it. Nobody will mind so long as it's Poirot. Well, I minded. Anyway, there you are.
I hadn't realized quite how jealous you were.
Don't be ridiculous.
No, I don't. Do not attempt to deny it, my dear Agatha. Now that I have read this thing, nothing could be more clear. If it had been merely a question of, how shall I say, logic, convenience to kill me off, there would have been no need for all the humiliation.
Humiliation?
Come, my dear. All those references, more and more of them, to Monsieur Poirot's little Monsieur Poirot's peculiar egg-shaped head, and then the clothes. First of all, the spats. Then the two tight padded leather shoes, the striped trousers. I mean, whom? Whom do you know that dresses like this? Whom? I came to look like some sort of narcissistic penguin. amused by that. I understand. No doubt you were also amused when you wrote me out of those two films, Murder Most Foul and Murder at the Gallop, two of my cases.
Wasn't my fault.
Oh, of course not. And of course it would not have been your fault that I just happened to be replaced in those two films by that ridiculous Miss Marple woman, your obsession with whom I cannot for 1 minute begin to understand. Untrained, senile, spinster. But let us leave that to one side. All this one might understand. It was hurtful, it was cruel, it was humiliating, but knowing the extent of your jealousy, one might understand, one might perhaps even forgive. But this, twisted, crippled in a wheelchair, put to bed, hair washed and dried, and the hair dyed.
It's a wig. It turns out to be a wig. Later on, in the bit you haven't read.
Where is it? Where is the rest of it?
Somewhere where you can't get it.
I insist on seeing it.
You can insist as much as you jolly well like. I'm not going to show it to you.
Tell me at least how I am to die. Surely that is my right. Despite it all, you will, I know, have given me a proper death, n'est-ce pas? A death worthy of both of us, yes? A murder? Bien sûr, a murder! Of course it would have to be a murder. But for Hercule Poirot, a murder of the most exotic sort. Naturellement, the most brilliant murder that you have ever devised in any of your books. I'm right, am I not, Agatha? Of course, of course, no ordinary murder would succeed on such a distinguished victim. No ordinary murderer. C'est intéressant, ça. Whoever would be so clever as to outwit the great Hercule Poirot? You would not go for the clumsy shooting or the stabbing. So, whoever it is would have to use the little brain cells as cleverly, more cleverly, than myself, if that was possible. Agatha, you would tell me. Agatha, I don't understand.
My dear Poirot, you don't get murdered at all.
Huh?
You simply have a heart attack.
No!
Agatha. Agatha. Agatha, are you all right, my dear?
What time is it?
It's 7 o'clock in the morning. When Edmund and I came to find you last night, you were fast asleep. You looked so comfy, I thought I'd just cover you and leave you.
Oh, what a lovely day. What's old Edge come up to?
Sorry, my dear. Ah, say, are you really all right, Agatha?
Yes, thank you. Quite all right. You know, Max, I think I've got rather a good idea.